Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Sure, Dr. Lecter murdered and ate people, but I just don't know enough about Clarice. Did she even work at McDonald's? But it sums up the idiocy of the coverage, right? Just like, who lies about working at McDonald's and who puts anything they did in college on a resume? Like, it's just the fact that we're even talking about it. Yeah.
Well, but look, that's what happens. That's how even the well-intentioned people in corporate media who are on our side, and there's some great journalists in corporate media, don't get me wrong, but they are compelled to fact-check the lies of Trump and the dangerous rhetoric, and he knows that, right? So he just floods the zone, and what happens is corporate media is a finite landscape. So you push Vice President Harris out because all you're doing is fact-checking the lies and the dangerous rhetoric of Donald Trump because you have to, and he knows that. He manipulates them well, but I got to be honest, at the top of corporate media ladder, they want Trump. He's good for less regulation, more mergers. That's a big thing. They don't like this FTC under Biden, been very hostile to mergers. Mergers are bad for consumers, really good for corporations, for their bottom line, for the executives. That's why you have a lot of rich white people supporting Trump openly, and it's because of the hostility to mergers of the Biden administration.
Oh, God. Okay. Very important thread of yours. You said Elon Musk, Laura Loomer, Netanyahu, Mark Robinson, Putin, the January 6th terrorists all want Donald Trump to be president. I said I opened the show, Dean, with the things that are giving me the most gastrointestinal, distress at this hour.
That's three headlines. That's not a sound effect.
No, that's live.
Oh, that's live.
That's Stephanie. She just stood up by the microphone.
We have a month to go with just geopolitical events. Eastern Gulf Coast ports shut down as thousands of workers go on strike. And two other headlines. Israel begins ground offensive against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Just in, Iran planning imminent attack on Israel with ballistic missiles. Okay. To your point, Netanyahu will do anything to help Donald Trump get reinstalled. But talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, look, Netanyahu's been a part of the GOP. Now, at one point, he was more bipartisan, but under Obama is when he really made his turn. People remember when Republicans invited him to speak, even though Obama did not invite him to Congress, and many Democrats objected and didn't go to it. That was the beginning of the partisanization of the idea of supporting Israel, when at a time it used to be much more bipartisan. And that's because of Netanyahu. That he made a choice to be a part of the apparatus of the GOP. So that's continued and continued. When Trump was in office, he did everything Netanyahu wanted. And I don't mean just moving embassies around. He cut aid to 2 UN relief agencies that help Palestinians because Netanyahu said he called them fictitious refugees. So Trump's like, sure, I don't care. He said, okay, you can have the Golan Heights. It doesn't matter what Trump says. Internationally, it's still an issue. But the point is anything he wants. And Netanyahu knows that. Also, it serves Netanyahu's purpose. Now, he's becoming more popular in Israel since the killing of Nasrallah. His numbers have gone up. The recent poll, the Likud party, his party would get the most votes if the election were held today for parliament. So the Knesset, it's called there. That's part of it. But on a human level, Stephanie, my fiance, Hind, is visiting her family in Haifa because this is the perfect time to visit your family. And she got a discount on airfare. I wonder why. Because it's really cheap.
They'll pay you to go now.
You get a flak jacket and you sit down on the plane. But she's been there. No, she went like a month ago when there was a lull. Now you can't get out. And literally this morning, and the last few days, she's in a bomb shelter because Hezbollah's firing missiles at Haifa. And thankfully, they have the Iron Dome that protects her. And I just talked to her on the phone. I go to the bomb shelter. Iran's about to fire missiles. She goes, we heard. I'm like, oh, my gosh. So it's a personally stressful time as well.
I'm so sorry. I have complex questions for you, and I didn't wait till a hard break. So I'm going to talk to you soon. I have very complex questions about the Middle East. I just like to get, because you have family, you are part Palestinian. I also have been texting with my ex who has family in Israel, who, and Dean, it's so apparent why this has just been going on forever. And I saw our friend Joy Reid on TV last night. I wanted to get your take, but she was talking about this could hurt Kamala Harris, the Middle East thing, with younger people of color, say in Michigan. And I do not mean to be condescending, Dean, because I don't understand it like you do and a lot of people do, but I don't get it. Donald Trump would be exponentially, he would let Netanyahu do whatever he wants. Yep. I mean, I just don't understand how. And also, I feel like Kamala Harris has been threading this needle even better, I think, than Biden did about the Middle East.
Better.
But yeah,
Biden wasn't good.
But
I have to be honest.
Give me, because again, I don't mean to be condescending. Like, what's wrong with you kids? But I'm like, really? You would let Trump get in because you don't?
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's not that when I saw polls with people within our community, how accurate they are, that you have more people supporting Harris, and then you have them supporting, say, Jill Stein. Very small. There was just a poll, only 11% of Muslim Americans supporting Trump. It's not Trump. It's hard. For some of them, it's hard to bring them to vote for Harris because she's connected to Biden. If she was on her own, if she's just her own candidate, not part of his administration, it would be like 80% voting for Harris.
Yeah.
They want to support her. But look, before we came on, Stephanie, it's not just about young people. Here's the other concern. Crude prices just jumped 3% because of the potential war. If this happens, crude prices are going to keep going up. And Netanyahu knows that. That's my friend Harrison Mann, the former major in the military, told me 2 weeks ago that's what's going to happen. He predicted this to me about Netanyahu causing a big spike in gas prices, and that weighs on Harris for everybody. Mm-hmm. And Trump goes, look, when I get in, the same lie, I'll bring gas prices down. Remember when I was there? So it's not just about a subset. This war in the Middle East could have an impact. It could be the October surprise in the way that we always fear it, and it could be this.
And what's Putin going to do to help Trump as well? I mean, whether gas prices, you name it. But Dean, I know we're going to have to break.
Right,
but you mentioned Netanyahu getting more popular in Israel, but I know a lot of people don't like him and agree with us about Netanyahu. But I heard an Israeli person saying, well, unfortunately, you can't have a two-state solution with people that want to kill you, and they're like the Palestinians voted for Hamas, and if an election was held again today, they would vote for Hamas. And so,
that was only Gaza. That was only in Gaza. And just to be clear, the Netanyahu administration does not support a Palestinian state since 2009. When he said point blank, there'll not be a Palestinian state on my watch.
So Dean, I don't want to, I don't want to block your Middle East answer again because we have about 5 more minutes with you. But I thought, boy, it is this polling we were saying, because we were talking about like, is this going to hurt young people of color voting for Kamala in Michigan, and I know that everyone was like, her Hispanic vote is not as high as whatever. Well, she's still up by 15 points. I feel like part of it, they keep trying to panic us on different issues, and the Middle East is going to sink Kamala, and you're like, as you were saying, you've been saying over and over again, Donald Trump would be a disaster for the Palestinian people. But I just was asking you the larger question that, Netanyahu, despicable, not a partner for peace, not for a two-state solution. Neither is Hamas, right? So, and our concern is, like you were saying, we're in October, officially October surprise, and this wider war looks like it's starting to happen in the Middle East, where then Trump goes, see that, if I were president, none of this would happen. And how many stupid people are going to believe that, right?
Well, that's the problem. You have some people who just tune in at the end and go like, there wasn't a war in the Middle East when Trump was there. And gas prices were cheaper because gas prices, if this war continues, gas prices they're going to start to float up. And that affects people all the time. We know that. So look, in the bigger picture, I really think you need a regional approach to a peace deal that incentivizes both the Palestinians and the Israelis through the Arab countries and through European countries playing a role as well. In that there's the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank operates the West Bank, at least the 16% of the West Bank they control. And, they've recognized a two-state, they've called for a two-state for a long time, but there's been no chance with Netanyahu. Gaza's separate, Hamas is there. But if we incentivize it for both people, perhaps in the middle rises up and says, hey, let's have two states. Let's go forward. But you've got, Moshe Dayan's a famous Israeli general who said, you don't make peace with your friends, you make it with your enemies. Mm-hmm. So you've got to talk. And people that's a lesson through the Middle East that I always remember, that today's enemies can be tomorrow's friends. And that's how it can work.
And I don't mean to be happy clappy, Dean, but I really feel like Kamala Harris could make the U.S. an honest broker again in this whole thing, and that all things could be possible. Well, election season is a sweet time of the year, right? As candidates coat their messages with lots of sugar to get your vote. Yeah, I said that. Now you can enjoy the sweetness of the election with authentic candidate cookies with the likeness of Kamala and Donald on your favorite butter cookie made by the famous deli in Chicago, Max and Benny's. You can purchase these once-in-a-lifetime cookies on the Stephanie Miller, Thom Hartmann, and John Fugelsang websites. To order, go to our websites, click on the banner for cookie candidates, or go directly to their website, cookiecandidates.com.